going on, creeps? Comic-Con week is upon us, and before I get into the nitty-gritty of this video, a little bit of some housekeeping here. I just unfortunately got the news that James Gunn has officially been fired from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 over some taboo tweets that he sent out before Disney hired him, which, regardless of my opinions or anything on it, is just a gigantic bummer. I think it's pretty lame that Disney took his very unique brand of humor, slapped it on every single movie after Guardians of the Galaxy 1, and now that he's been milked dry and they might get embarrassed by him, they fucking fire him. Well, that's something that you can look into on your own, because I'm not going to force anyone's opinion on this or anything, but I think an important thing to do is look up Mike Cernovich, Cernovich. He is the man who, quote-unquote, blew the whistle on James Gunn. And I think you should look into that man before casting too much of judgment. And in even sadder news, one of the main directors from Metalocalypse, John Schnepp, has passed away today. And I would just like to offer a tribute to him because he made some of the greatest modern episodes of animation. Fucking the best example of modern animation, maybe, period, today. So, R.I.P. John Schnepp, you will be missed. Alright, now to get into it. Here we go. We're going to talk about Unbreakable and Split, two M. Night Shyamalan movies. But before you shut this off, I am not a fan of M. Night Shyamalan, really, other than these two movies. I think these two movies are two of my favorite movies, like, ever. But I will admit, everything else is kind of a stinking load of garbage. Even, I can't really rewatch The Sixth Sense. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my trailer reaction for Glass, because this is something I've been looking forward to for about 15 years now, ever since I first saw Unbreakable. I've wanted to see more of Mr. Glass, and I'm finally going to get it. So, before we see the first trailer for the sequel to Unbreakable and Split, I need to make a bit of a preface first. Obviously, like I said, M. Night Shyamalan is a widely spurned filmmaker, and I can't say I'm not one of the spurners, like I said. Mainly because of his twist endings that turn the movie on its head and kind of into crap, other than these movies. These two had twists in the end that made the movie more rewatchable, if you ask me. They created heroes and villains we didn't really know we had or ever wanted, but we got them. Like, before Batman Begins, we get this. The first superhero story that was, like, so small in scale, and at the same time, it's a very far cry from a story of triumph. Like a dark stories about the troubles that accompany our powers, no matter what they may be, superhuman powers in this case. And question the motives of those that surround us. Are they truly trying to guide us to become our best selves? Or are we being manipulated to benefit those who are advising us with our powers if they don't have them? It will honestly be impossible for me to go on without spoiling the movie, so I mean, if you haven't already seen it, then maybe you should turn it off. So, if you'd like to avoid knowing what happens in the end, this should be the point where you turn this off. Go watch Unbreakable and Split right now, if that's what you're doing. I'll know! Not that the title and promotional material for Glass doesn't pretty much give it all away, but, Purple Mr. Glass, Sam Jackson, is ultimately the villain in Unbreakable. A man hiding in the shadows in fear, searching desperately for a protector because he can't do anything for himself because he is so infirmed and feeble. Causing the accident that gives David Dunn his powers in Unbreakable. David Dunn is Bruce Willis's character. Something he'd been doing his whole adult life, searching for those with powers he could never dream of. And from Split, Dennis, or Patricia, or Hedwig, James McAvery's character is also a subject and personality that would most definitely be right up that alley where Mr. Glass would be most certainly interested. He's a damaged individual with a foggy, yet clearly unfortunate past which drives his motives and powers. As well as Cassie Cook, the girl, the damaged heroine abducted in Split. She has just as amazing a power in her resolve, even if she lacks the physical powers. She's still like Mr. Glass in the sense that she's that determined. Showcasing a 360-degree pivot of powerful comic book characters in a very unassuming story, which is the driving force behind the power of this apparent franchise. As many misses as he's had, in my opinion, these movies are a perfect blend of so many genres and ideas that he's put his own stamp of storytelling on. Also, in my opinion, it's the polar opposite of his normal narrative style. Which makes sense. Opposite of terrible, which he usually makes, is amazing, which these movies are. Opposite of mutant is natural. And in these films we get some natural characters and a bit of a natural, fresh feeling. The most amazing feat in this series, I'd have to say thus far, since I haven't seen Glass, is the fact that Unbreakable opens with the birth of Elijah, aka Mr. Glass. I mean, it seemed pretty strange to me when I was younger, but hell, if time hasn't updated it from outside sources, mind you, but rendered it an almost perfect opening to this franchise. Because all you need to empathize and commiserate with the character is in that opening scene, and other expository scenes from Mr. Glass's past, which takes place in a lot harder version of West Philadelphia than Will Smith was living in. They precede his introduction as a man, the owner of the limited edition art gallery, which sells rare comic book art that he won't sell to children. Also, on a more glib note, this is the first film where Bruce Willis finally shaves his head, well, other than Pulp Fiction, obviously. So it's when he first got that dickhead Bruce Willis look, which I like. His character done, at first, very soft-spoken, defeated character, maybe ever that Bruce Willis has played. He's visibly unhappy, perhaps suicidal, in the beginning at least, after surviving the train crash. But not because of it. With a very strained relationship with his wife and a job as a security guard at a university stadium, there really isn't that much going for him. After which, Mr. Glass starts leaving anonymous letters from his limited edition shop under his windshield and whatnot, trying to lead David to him. And David obviously can't help but look into some of the things that he's saying to him, and it bears some fruit. So, Mr. Glass has succeeded in getting his attention. Seemingly a vastly successful comic book art collector, knowing everything about comic books in general, Glass is, in fact, a man lost in the ethos of superheroes, treating these works of art as transcendent works, beyond anything on this earth. The movie succeeds in bringing this mentality into a reality. I know it seems like an armchair reference, but he really is very similar to Ozymandias from Watchmen. And I mean, that's kind of what I'm going, that's my go-to for any time that there's a villain this genius. He's obsessed with Egyptian ruins, just like Ozymandias, the purple suits just like Ozymandias, and he wants to make the world perfect, despite how many countless innocent victims are caught in the crosshairs in the wake of achieving this goal. I mean, maybe Alan Moore invented this trope, but it's just the perfect villain, in my opinion. Shyamalan, in the process of doing this, completely deconstructs superhero lore to make it appear more grounded in reality. Almost the perfect hero story is done. A guy who's too afraid to live to his full potential, like many of us, because we're too afraid of the ramifications of what it's going to do to our lives once we use these powers that we have. Because everybody's got something they're good at. But confronts his fears and becomes the best man he could possibly dream to be. And it makes a tangible difference on society. I mean, to at least some people. This story is something that absolutely needs to be told in this climate of conflicting cinematic comic book machines. I mean, this is kind of what created those machines, but it's just so refreshing. This is a feeling that we need right now in superhero movies, in comic book movies. And a smaller scale, but just as big of a story, is also so refreshing in these comic book tropes that we've been seeing kind of just farted out over the last couple of years. Dunn's ability to sense others' sins is also amazing, reminding the viewer how every day we wade through a sea of thieves, rapists, and murderers and we don't even know who they are. Speaking of them, here's a segue into Split. James McAvoy's character, Dennis, Hedwig, Patricia, whatever you want to call him, the Beast, whatever you want to call him, are essentially the opposite of David. A normal man filled with superhuman powers which dwell within his most powerful personality, as I just mentioned, the Beast, who is indeed real and is unleashed to create nothing but sorrow and terror and destroy everything in its wake. Being helped by an outsider to become a better person, his elderly female psychiatrist, just as opposed to Mr. Glass, who is imploring David to use his abilities despite the ramifications. And at the end, both, more specifically Split, they use their powers pitilessly and unleash them onto humanity. Despite David and Dennis being so different at their core, they are almost exactly the same character with opposite mentalities and ethics, or lack thereof, in Patricia, Hedwig, the Beast's case. Which made me sincerely jump out of my seat with excitement when Split closed with a report of Dennis's crimes on the news in a diner, proving to fans that there was indeed unfinished business with Dennis and David, as well as Mr. Glass. And apparently Casey, too, sole survivor of David's transformation into the Beast, who is almost a foil to Glass, believe it or not. She's crippled by fear from her childhood rather than a disease because She had a very traumatizing childhood where she was molested by her uncle, who her dad very much trusted and would not believe. So she's living with just as much emotional trauma as Glass is living with physical trauma. And this gave her the wherewithal to escape in the end, despite the mind-bending reality that was thrust upon her. I am very interested to see how these characters are going to bond, and whether or not my theories about their relationships that I just gave you are even close to correct. Alright, now without any further ado, let's watch this thing and see whether I'm right or not. Or just, I've gotten the old Shyamalan Shaft job, and this is just looks like it's going to be a big piece of crap. Seeing as I can't force myself to watch anything else that he's done, except maybe The Village or Signs. Alright, enough. Let's get this underway. Alright, true to Doc Fugate fashion, I had the wrong one, so without any more further ado, here it is.
It's amazing to meet you. It is simply extraordinary. Maybe this will all make sense if I explain who I am.
It's the lady from American Horror Story.
My name is Dr. Ellie Staple, and I'm a psychiatrist.
She's Dr. Ellie Staple, a psychiatrist.
My work concerns a particular type of delusion of grandeur. It's a growing field. I specialize in those individuals who believe they are superheroes.
Wow! No fucking way. Holy shit.
Good for you.
The three of you've convinced yourselves you have extraordinary gifts like something out of a comic book.
No fucking way.
David Dunn, the only person to survive that train wreck all those years ago. What do?
I'm in security.
You think you have superpowers.
It's a feeling. Vision. I have to touch them.
You believe
my God.
you are a protector.
We found him!
My name is Patricia.
I have no question there are 24 identities
I'm Mary Reynolds. Por favor, senora. We almost got you, bro.
that live in that body with you.
The beast is coming any minute now for you guys.
Fucking
What
Hedwig's
I am
back!
questioning is your belief that you are something more than human.
He is. They
And
all are.
yet, it is true.
Yeah, yet it is true.
Bones break easily. I've had 94 breaks in my life.
But you have an extraordinary IQ.
This is not a cartoon. This is the real world.
No way.
And yet, some of us still don't die with bullets.
No way.
Some of us can still bend steel. I've been waiting for the world to see that we exist. May I meet the beast? I hope for your sake that he likes you. That sounds like the bad guys teaming up. A lot
Team
of
up!
people are going to die. Don't do this.
Team up!
Are you ready?
Yes, I am fucking ready!
What do we call you, sir? First name, Mr. Last name, Glass.
Holy shit! Oh my god! It's gonna be so fucking good! Ugh, I can't even fucking, bring the words together right now. This is going to be so good. Like I said earlier, it's completely deconstructing the whole idea of the superhero mythology, but it looks like it's upping the ante on it being a superhero story. But, a reverse one. Holy shit, this is going to be so fucking good. It looks like the best aspects of both movies crammed together. I cannot wait until January. If you couldn't get the context from that, just go watch the trailer. If you couldn't get the context from what I was saying about the other movies, go watch the movie if I've piqued your interest. Doc out.